Hi everyone. Yesterday when I got home from this conference it was kind of late, so I just decided that I would do the continuation of this video the next day, which is today, right now. Alright, so I want to tell you a little bit about what I learned at this fracking seminar. So the area that we live on is referred to as the Marcellus Shale, and shale, it looks kind of like slate. If you're digging an area where there's coal, you'll see it. If you live in the Northeast, you'll see it. There are several states that have it and are being drilled right now. So there's Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, West Virginia. I think there's another one, maybe regular Virginia, but I'm not sure. Alright, so to natural gas out of the ground, and this gas is found 3,000 to 900 feet below the surface level. So they need to pump 2 to 5 million gallons of water into the earth to make this high pressure so that the gas comes up. And 1 to 3% of that water is toxic chemicals, and they need that to break up the shale. And they also put in some kind of lubricating substances and also sand to keep it open. So the wastewater is 15 to 95% toxic, which comes back up. And this water, in addition to having all of the toxic chemicals, it also has really, really high levels of brine and sea minerals, because as it was explained to us, is that this shale formation is there, and the area where we live, like 300 million years ago, was a result of the collision of two continents, and there was ocean there, so that's why all of this like really mineral dense rock and land is there now. Alright, so in addition to having all these minerals, this rock is also radioactive, so they're disturbing all this stuff, bringing it up, and that's obviously not good. So they take all of this radioactive waste and toxic chemicals and they store it in like giant pits, like huge swimming pools full of toxic waste that are lined with some kind of liner. Except the liners leak because they're holding toxic chemicals, so that all seeps into the groundwater, which is really not good. Eventually they'll take it away, they'll store it in big barrels and transport it by train or somehow. And it ends up in Ohio, I think, most of it. So it really sucks for people that live in Ohio because they're getting all of the waste products from all of these drilling sites. So these oil and gas companies, they're all private companies, and they admit to using 80 different chemicals in their fracking solution, but when the New York Department of Conservation actually tested these fluids, they found over 200 different chemicals. So they admit to 80, but really there's more than 200, so you can't really trust anyone. And a lot of these chemicals are proprietary, so we don't know what they actually are. And actually even the guys that are working on these sites, they don't know what chemicals they're working with. So there's lots of injury and illness coming to the people that are working at the actual site themselves because they don't know what they're working with or what they're using, if they should have on masks or gloves, etc. So that's obviously a big problem because they might say, okay, so we need to order this chemical, so we call this company and they deliver it, but we don't know what it is. So it sucks for them. And a lot of these chemicals are damaging to the kidney, to the liver, to your central nervous system, to your eyes, to your GI tract, cardiovascular toxicity. There are lots of problems. So in the past 3 years, talking about environmental violations, there were 2,355 violations by different oil and gas companies. Now, it's really hard to enforce it because they're not inspected quite enough, and they have violations. That just means they need to pay a fine. They're not shut down. And these fines are like pocket change for these companies. It's no big deal. They pay the fine and carry on. So there was $3.9 billion, I believe, earned also in the past 3 years. So if they're getting little fines, like, poof, whatever. So there's lots of environmental harm. One of the big problems with the water in these areas is actually not from the chemicals, but it is related to fracking. So there's lots of methane gas in these rocks alone. So when it's all disturbed, methane gas is coming back up, and that goes, it's a product, it's not even a byproduct, it's in the rocks naturally, but they're releasing it and having it all come up. And that gets into drinking water, and this is why when people turn on their faucets, they can light their water, because methane is obviously very flammable, and there's an explosion hazard for all of the areas of the people where are living in these areas. Even if there are no people, there's still an explosion hazard, obviously. So wells, if you have well water, if you're living within 1 kilometer of a drill site, your water could have up to 17 times the normal limits of methane. And then obviously it gets a little bit less and less as you go farther from the drill site, but that's still obviously very bad. There can even be earthquakes caused by this. So when they're putting these lubricants in the ground, they might be lubricating old fault lines, and they can therefore cause an earthquake. They're aggravating these faults and aggravating the ground, lubricating things up, and we can have an earthquake. And actually in Pennsylvania, I think it was in September of this previous year, we had the first earthquake in Pennsylvania, like maybe ever in the history of the world. So I think that's pretty interesting, and maybe that's like really related. That was a cool experience. Actually, I can make a video about that, because the Northeast United States really, as a rule, is not an earthquake area. I mean, yeah, everything is possible, but I'll do another video about my earthquake experiences. Okay, so in Pennsylvania there are 15 different plants that treat the wastewater, and once the wastewater is treated, they dump it right in the river. And where do you think our drinking water comes from? Ding ding ding, from the rivers. So the water management plants that are providing your city drinking water take water from the rivers, treat it one more time, and then it comes out of your faucet. Yum. Just makes me so thirsty. So in this water there are increased levels of bromide, which is a natural substance, but it's from this rock being so aggravated and the chemical processing, so they can't filter out all of the bromide, so they treat it with chloride, or chlorine, I think chloride, to clean the water. And a waste product from that, which ends up in the water, is trihexylmethane. I think I'm saying it right, doesn't matter, but the abbreviation is THM. And the side effects of THM are bladder cancer and birth defects, so that's coming right out of your kitchen tap. Yum. So we asked why nothing is being done, and the speaker's answer was that not enough people have died. So in order for anyone to do anything about anything, at least 10,000 people need to die before they'll start testing. So if you've had, I don't know, 995 people in your area die, well, that's just not enough. That's not cost effective. So this THM is actually, it's a disinfectant byproduct, and in some areas the water levels were tested as having 80 milligrams per liter, and we were told yesterday that any water having over 20 milligrams per liter, so that's already 60 over, will cause birth defects. And the kind of birth defects that we're talking about are a cleft lip, congenital heart disease, and perhaps the worst one is encephalitis. So if you're not sure what encephalitis is, I actually will show you a picture on my phone. Just go back to the Latin or Greek bases. So an or without, and cephalus is the skull, right? So start to put this picture together in your mind. So these babies are being born without a skull and possibly without parts of their brain, and let's see if the picture will show. So that, well, there you go. It's really awful. It's disgusting. So that gives you an image. And then here is a fetus that, I don't know if it was a natural abortion or if it was aborted, but you can see this on an ultrasound. So that's just, it's really awful. So there's also, in addition to this, there's also radon in water. And guess what? There is no test to check the radon in your water like we have the radon test for our home. Think about it. If you're taking a shower, there's hot water, you're technically breathing all of that water, so you're just poisoning yourself like internally and externally at the same time. So it's just crazy. So other problems that fracking cause are air pollution. There are 29 counties in Pennsylvania that are currently out of compliance with the ground level ozone standards. So that's a little bit scary. And I mean, that's not just staying in these areas. I mean, it's obviously it's air and it's poisoning everyone. There's also traffic, lots of traffic. So in order to work on one well, to get this well functional, it will take 1,000 truck trips. So we're talking like big heavy duty trucks. So it's damage to the road, it's wear and tear on the roads in your area where you live, and also with that increased traffic of 1,000 trucks, there's going to be more traffic accidents, more annoyance in general, traffic, and spills, because accidents happen. There's also noise pollution. So if you live near a well, they will be drilling 24/7. It's not just a few hours a day. So think about how that's going to affect your mental health. Lots of stress, decreased sleep. There are also lights, like football stadium floodlights. So if you're living next door to this, it's going to be really, really annoying. Let's see. And also, one of the most disturbing issues right now is that there is a type of a gag order on doctors and medical professionals. It's a confidentiality agreement that, say, for example, you're getting patients in that possibly have poisoning related to fracking. Perhaps the doctor can contact these companies and say that I have these patients, I need to treat them. What am I treating them for? Because I don't know what they're being poisoned by. So the doctor might be able to find out what chemicals are affecting his clients, but then he can't tell the person what he's treating them for or tell anyone else in order to protect them. So that's absolutely disgusting. So, also another disturbing fact is that bottled water, if you think, okay, fine, I won't drink my tap water, I'll just buy bottled water, which we do sometimes, bottled water is actually not regulated by any agency. FDA does not regulate bottled water. FDA is the Food and Drug Administration. Water is neither a food nor a drug, and there's no agency that regulates water. So gross. You're probably actually better off drinking the stuff that comes out of your tap. And right now we actually have a filter system that's on our kitchen tap water. But, well, that's it. So I just wanted to share my experience of this fracking seminar. So I hope you guys got some good information and you can make decisions by yourself, but just so that you're up on the issues and know what fracking is, and a little intro on the effects that it can have on your health or the health of your patients. So this may or may not happen to you or to your area, but it's always good to just have an open mind and know of the possible effects. I'm not saying that this will happen, but it has happened and it could happen. So it's just good to know what's going on around you. Alright guys, so I hope that my next videos will be on more of a happy topic. Alright guys, just hoping that I helped to inform you a little bit. Alright guys, have a great day. Mwah.